see dribbling from Seibel, trying to go through the whole USF defense. And we have a kickball going against the Dons, so give it back to Stanislaus State and maintain possession.
Yeah, I love the hustle. I mean, this team from Stanislaus is still hustling. They're playing against a team that's pretty scrappy themselves in USF. USF was pretty much out-scrapped their competition this year. So to come in here and to play on a pretty even, I can say pretty even playing field in terms of their effort and their ability, they've done that.
USF calls timeout. We will take it with them. The Dons up 63-49, 4:59 to go. From the hilltop, we'll be right back. Get underway, 63-49. USF leading Stanislaus State. Each team now with 2 timeouts remaining. Under 5 minutes left to go. Jason Seibel gets to the free throw line. Ben Ross and Ben Braun with you here. Always easier for me to remember names when I just have to say my own name twice, Coach.
Yeah, there you go. Ben and Ben show.
Well, USF 7-2 on the year. If they can hang on tonight, they'll get to 8-2, and we're getting closer to WCC play. Just 3 more non-conference games, and then into conference. Where do you see this USF team right now?
I like what they've done, and I think Chris Gerlson will also tell you that if he can get that consistency that he'd like to see out of his team, when they're good, they're really good, man. When they play at the top of their game, I don't think there are many teams that are going to beat them. So certainly in the league, they can play with anybody. The top teams, they'll be a force in the WCC. What they want to avoid, though, are the runs. They don't want to have to count on making comebacks, which they've had to do, and they've run into some walls. If they can avoid that, I think that would be really important.
Ortonio in and out, and a rebound for Sala Gigi Badia just into the game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about consistency, and that's what every coach wants from his team, and that's the hardest thing to get, that is not to be up and down, just to try to get your team something that they can count on. It's constant. You don't have to look for it. It's just part of their makeup. So if you're USF, avoid getting down, getting holes, because you're not always going to be able to come back. And if you're up, hold the lead. Maybe get a little bit greedier.
That's J.J. Funk, who's another guy who's been redshirting just in. And it was last touched by USF. We'll take one last timeout. 3:39 to go. 65-49. The Dons closing in on victory. Welcome back. USF Basketball is brought to you in part by ABM Industries. Reliable janitorial engineering and building services that improve the space and places that matter most. Learn more at abm.com. 3.5 minutes to play. A 16-point lead for USF and a steal for Robbie Beasley.
What he does.
Open look at a 3. JRT missed it, but there's big Sala Gigiberia with the rebound. 7'2" from Georgia.
Well, he's come in a couple times this year and given his team a lift. He's a player that comes off the bench. When he does, he's effective.
3-pointer again from Rivera Torres. And here comes Stanislaus State. This game was tied at 33 at halftime, but USF has taken it up a level in the second half. Straightaway 3 is good from Seibel. They needed that one.
I like it. I mean, just measure. You go underneath the screen against a shooter, and you're in trouble.
That's their first 3 of the second half. They made 5 of them in the first half. 6 for 19 on the night. 13-point lead for the Dons. Good pass from JRT. And Gigi Badia gets fouled.
Well, when USF wants to, then they can go big, and they can go real big. They got 7-footer, they got 7'2", they got 6'11", 6'10". They can play small or play big. That's the versatility of this team, and they've got depth, and they can afford to kind of pick and choose what team they want to put out on the floor.
Well, we were talking about, before the break, big picture going into conference play. I mean, you look at the WCC this year, I think we kind of got those usual suspects. Gonzaga looks great. You got St. Mary's. Where do you see USF fitting in?
Well, the thing I like about their competitiveness, and they've shown this so far this year, they're very competitive. team. They play offensively, defensively. They can stop people, when their defense is clicking, and they can score. So they've got depth. And when you're going through the season in the conference, you're trying to knock people off, get to the tournament, you got to have a little depth. They also have some veteran leadership. They have some guys that can generate their own shot in Thomas and Newberry and Williams. And most teams don't have that. They got 3 guys that can do that.
Yeah, you're right. They've got a lot of weapons on the offensive end. As that 3 off the mark from Reichstadt.
Is that wide left or right?
No, wide left. We had a wide right in the first half.
Yeah, well, it was wide left.
That's right. Ryan Beasley draws contact, and he'll go to the line.
So to get back then to the point, I think when you have those things going for you, now can you knock off the St. Mary's? Can you knock off the Gonzaga? That's easier said than done, because those teams have been at the pinnacle. They've been at the top, and they're nationally ranked teams every year. But USF's been knocking on the door. They've had consecutive, 20-win seasons now.
7 in a row.
I mean, so very few teams have done that, and they've always challenged Gonzaga and St. Mary's. So you had a good home court advantage here, where USF is tough. They're getting good crowds this year throughout most of the season. It's going to be an interesting league in the WCC, that's for sure.
I've always said that the WCC is one of the most underrated leagues, and we see it every year, not just Gonzaga, but St. Mary's, USF, Santa Clara, some really good teams.
I know that firsthand, obviously, playing with Coach Nick Cal. We played these teams, they were tough.
Pass too high for Smith, and that is turnover number 16.
I had a kind of a rule. I said, we'll play you guys, but we're playing in hospital.
That's right.
We're not going on the road in War Memorial, and we're not going to do
These are tough buildings.
No, and in St. Mary's, we're going to play you. But they were good, and they've got good coaches, and Mark Few and Randy Bennett, and obviously now Chris Gurlison carving out his niche here. I mean, there's some really good coaches in WCC.
16 turnovers now for USF. Well, if you are Chris Gurlison, I mean, I'm sure he's not thrilled with everything about this game, but what do you take away from a night where you kind of struggled and eventually got it going?
Well, I'm going to say something a little bit radical here, and I'm going to tell you, and he won't tell his team this, but I'll say it. I'm not so sure he's disappointed. He might be disappointed in some things happening, but I think he's going to end up appreciating that this team had to face what they faced, because you can talk to a team all you want to. You have to face this type of team and this type of effort. And that's how your team knows.
Yeah.
And so I think he'll, in the end, get something out of this game and be kind of a lesson to say, look, guys, if we don't show up now, we're going to play against a team that's hungry like Stanislaus, and we're not going to win consistently if we don't step up from the start.
It's a good point. I mean, everybody can play. There are so many good players and teams these days, even in Division II, as we're seeing. And this is a Stanislaus State team that is short-handed due to injuries.
Well, I coached Division II or NEI for 8 years. I had guys that could play at Division I. I coached against Division II teams that had guys that could play at Division I, and I had a Sweet 16 team who my best player and center was a Division II transfer.
Yeah.
And he was player of the year in our league back in Eastern Michigan. So say no more. Division II doesn't mean much to me other than they're players, and there's some awfully good ones.
USF doesn't have to shoot again. They lead at 52.
They'll pull it out, and they're going to count this in the book. But we'll have Coach over here. We'll talk to him. But again, he won't say it publicly. But I know he might tell us. He might. He's pretty.
I'm curious to ask about it, because sometimes it's good to get tested.
Yeah, and he's a lot of respect. He knows Coach Trevor, and they're talking, exchanging some congratulatory handshakes and hugs. But you really feel good if you're Stanislaus and the effort. Those kids on that team should be proud.
Yeah.
And USF also, they came back. They were tied at half, and they got their bell rung a little bit in the first half. They got their attention, and they had to come back and get this win. So I think this was a game maybe during the break you kind of get a wake-up call and you end up having to play. So we'll talk to Coach. He'll be